every 3 months. So this is my commonplace book, commonplace binder. I'm going to set this down. Commonplace binder 101, that's the title. That's the next title. That is what we're at out of 100. So every 3 months. What do you want to do every 3 months? Well, probably want to look through this stuff. So anything that you wrote down, these are the 100 video titles, by the way, or at least one of the keywords that goes along with them. So there's number 44, so we check 44, revisiting. Revisit, wow. So what you want to do every 3 months is you want to go through and find your stuff. Now realistically, you want to be doing this all the time, but I think around 3 months to 3 years is ideal. And so the reason why 3 months to 3 years is ideal is if we're looking at ideas and we're writing ideas down and then looking at them later, we might have a little bit of an emotional attachment to the things, so we need to let them sit for a little bit. And for me, 3 months is the minimum. Otherwise, I'll remember. So if you have a really weak memory, maybe it's only 3 days. But if you have a stronger memory, you're probably going to have to let it sit for at least 3 months. Otherwise, you're still going to be emotionally attached to whatever the thing is. Because you'll remember, and if you remember it like yesterday, well, you're probably going to be a little bit upset. But after 3 years, it can be a problem because it might be like, I don't know what the heck this is. Whereas like 3 months to 3 years, for me at least, is ideal. So release the attachment. If you're super attached to it, you're probably not going to think critically about it, or at least there's going to be an emotional stake in whatever was written originally, and you might be a little hesitant to change what's written. Do it daily as well. So like I was saying earlier, every 3 months, you want to go through the thing, but you're probably not only going through it once every 3 months. You might be going through old sections from 3 months ago every single day. This will be uncomfortable. So even if you're somehow comfortable with the idea of going through something daily, if you're looking at your worst work on a daily basis, that might be stressful. Why is it your worst work? It's from 3 months ago, or 3 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago. So like, that's not always going to be super comfortable. Like, this will be uncomfortable. So you want to review paper first. So if you have a commonplace book, I have commonplace binder written here, but if you have a commonplace book, it's basically like the one place you keep all of your notes and related ramblings that are written in paper format. So you want to review the paper first. Some people have audio recordings or they type stuff out, but the first thing you probably want to deal with is loose leaf paper, which is somewhat damaged. Or maybe I'm crazy and that's not the first thing to be dealt with. For me personally, the thing to be dealt with is whatever's on my mind, but also whatever is going to be eliminated from existence. So it might be that you have an app which is going to close down and you stored some stuff on the app. And so in that case, you would go after the stuff on the app first. Desk items. Hopefully, your desk doesn't have too many items on it. I don't know how the items are going to help you revisit things. But I do have a little page turner thing that I put on my finger, and it allows me to grip the pages better as I go through them. I don't use that very often. That's more like if I have a stack of pages that I have to go through, rather than an actual binder itself. So I'd say that only gets done never. It should be done, but I never really get to it, because I take a little bit longer than 3 months to go through my stuff. Sorry. But if you're within the first 5 years of doing this, you should probably aim for the 3 month to 3 year window. Real edits. So would you prefer this video with real edits where I that's not a specific term or anything, but I'm making random noises right now. Do you want me to cut out the random noises or do you want me to leave them in? I haven't gotten any comments about that in a very long time, if ever. So there might have been one person at the beginning who was like, maybe don't. It's maybe don't what? Maybe don't get rid of them, or maybe don't leave them in. I need to know. Stable system. So is a binder a stable system? Well, I've got this. If I drop it, it's not going to be in a good spot. But why would I drop it and why would I throw it at the ground? That doesn't make any sense. So is this a stable system? In some ways, even though stuff can go in and out, I think this is a more stable system than just like a book rather than, you know, the binder. Because with a book, you fill it up and then it's maxed out. Like there's no leeway. You can't just add like an extra 200 pages to the book. It doesn't work like that. Unless you're, you know, like a book binder or some other paper wizard. So I think it's a stable system because it can expand and contract and reshuffle. So it's not like crystallized. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like the pieces aren't all stuck together. And when they are, you can take them apart. So it's stable, but it's not like sealed. So you'll get better. Revisiting things is going to be uncomfortable, but you will get better at it. So if you keep doing it, if you keep looking at your stuff from 3 months ago, you probably won't be as attached to it because you'll be like, I've made junk before, I'm going to make junk again, let's just go through this. But you'll also get better at making good stuff in the future because if you've seen all the ways that you've done it wrong, well, now you know what not to do next time. Which is part of the reason why I'm not super worried about these real edits. Sometimes I will remove stuff and other times I won't. And part of the reason for that is I'm just going to get better at this with time and I will be able to see how the videos perform if I leave the uhs and ums. So flip through. Will I be flipping through the binder in this video? No, I will not. Because I have many flip through videos and I have like 50 videos on the channel where it's just me showing off stuff inside the binder itself. So like, I don't want to do that again. I will do it again at the very end of this playlist. So if you want to stay tuned for the 98th video, I don't know if you can see that. Can you? That's a flip through right there. Oh, I was looking at the other finger. Okay, so track the dates. Where are the date tracker things? Well, for this, first use of binder, July 1st, 2023. So, first time I used this binder, which is the demonstration binder, the commonplace book, which I have as a commonplace binder, which shows me and the audience how to make a YouTube channel. So it tells me that before I record a video, I have to set up the stand and, you know, all the other little things, like adding this little paper thing so that I can focus on the camera and remind myself that I'm not just supposed to look at me, I'm supposed to look at you. So hopefully that helps. Split in half. So what is that about? Well, in a binder, you got a bunch of stuff. And I don't mean like chainsaw this. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, if you have 20 different sections, it might be that 10 of them are related to one type of thing, and 10 of them are related to a different type of thing. So once you fill the binder up, you can just take those out, and you can put one half in the other binder. And so that other binder will be focused on that specific subject. But this could also be referring to split it in half, as in like, you want to go through your stuff and eliminate the worst half, and like make more of the best half. But that's a little bit more complicated. I would say when you review your stuff every 3 months, you probably want to get rid of like 10% of the bad stuff, and you can just leave the rest. So the more you remove, the more it's going to stress you out, probably. But you will definitely be changing the most if you just remove everything after you do it the first time. So it's usually not a good idea to remove everything. You want to leave at least a tiny bit. Fear of loss. Maybe I just have a fear of loss. I'm afraid of losing my progress. Maybe that's why I don't split it in half. Maybe that's why I only get rid of 10%. Well, if you're afraid of loss, write it down so you can revisit it, because otherwise it doesn't exist. So, like, if you lose the memories, they're gone, probably, unless you have something that, like, triggers the memory to come back. Like, oh, I haven't seen this green in a while. The last time I saw a green like that, something happened. I have no idea. Like, if you're afraid of losing things, you could just write down, like, I'm afraid of losing things. And that's very vulnerable. And so it's good to look back through the stuff every 3 months and be like, is that the same? Because if that's the same 3 months later, or 3 years, or 30 years later, then, like, maybe that's just what you're up to. You gotta let it sit. So if you're just looking at it every single day, instead of like after 3 months or 3 years or whatever, it might not sink in. Or you might be like, oh yeah, that's normal daily stuff. But it's kind of like if you wake up every single day and you feel sick when you wake up. It's like, oh yeah, you know, that happens. Maybe I've been eating too much chocolate, or maybe I need to go for runs, or maybe it's a sinus thing. But if you're still doing that after 3 months, that's a pretty serious problem. And so it's good to sometimes write the stuff down and be like, oh, yeah, that's probably a thing I should look into. New. So how are we going to make new stuff if we're always looking at the old stuff? That's the personal problem I have, because I never end up looking at the old stuff. Not anymore. I used to look at it all the time. And now I sometimes still look at the stuff, but I'm so good at generating new stuff that it's really hard to look through the old stuff, because I feel like I don't have time for it, you know? Like, I'm making so much cool stuff now, or at least cooler than what I made before, because, for example, in the beginning of this binder, what was I writing down? Literally, I like rice. That doesn't help me. So it might help for a grocery list. But this is a lot more helpful, because this tells me when I started the binder, what I'm working on, an intro if I forget an intro, and the 100 videos for the playlist. Like, that's... So if I lose the document that shows me the outlines and the scripts for all 100 videos, I can remake it with this. Now, obviously, it's not going to go as well. Or maybe it'll go better because I'll have thought about it and then I'll do it even though I had already done it. But really, a lot of this is just creating a backup for things and then going back through, looking at the backup and being like, oh, interesting. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's just weird. So where are we? Specific. So we gotta be specific. Why do I mean it's just weird? Well, sometimes what I'll do is I'll hold on to stuff and I'll be like, oh man, I'm so ready to work on this project. And then I'll get like 3 months in the future and I'm like, I have no idea what this project is. And what that means is one of a few different things. So one could be I didn't organize the stuff properly when I created it in the first place. And that's a problem because then random things are going to get lost, they're going to get mixed into other things. But in some ways that's not a problem because part of this is about the whole process of mixing things together. Another possibility is I combined 2 different projects together. And so there were a few things which were tagged one thing, a few things which were tagged a second thing, and then everything else was tagged a third thing. So I'll look at the first thing and I'm like, what is that? Where does that go? Yeah, so entries. What kind of entries are you going to have? Are you going to, just like I said earlier, write down, I like rice? Maybe. But then you can expand on that later. Like, I like rice. What type of rice? Like white rice, brown rice, rice from a specific restaurant, rice that somebody else prepares. How do you prepare your rice? And if you write that down, congratulations, you have a rice recipe. That's kind of weird because it might be you have a parent who just buys rice, then you toss it in the rice cooker and you eat it. So like, I don't know. Update. Should I give you an update on what it's like to revisit things in the binder? That doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Now, I could go through all my old stuff and take notes and turn those into the idea videos. So I used to do those a bunch on this channel. People liked them a lot relative to the amount of work I put in, because really all I would do is I would just go through like 3 days worth of notes and I would write down like a page worth of interesting things I came across and then I would just talk about them. So they were really easy, like really easy to make because I didn't have a script, I didn't have an outline, it wasn't part of any like larger theme. It was literally just like, what are you doing today? I guess I was looking at this. And so like, I don't know why people liked them so much. If you know why people enjoyed the ideas videos, or if you happen to watch some of the idea videos, then let me know down below why. Exploring. Maybe it was because I was exploring topics. I would just say like one word about one thing and I'd say, a sentence about something else. And maybe people thought it was interesting that I was just, trying stuff out. And maybe that's what revisiting the stuff feels like. Maybe when you go through it every, 3 months or 3 years or whatever, you're just looking through stuff, and it's kind of fun. Maybe you have some future predictions. Like maybe you're like, ooh, there's going to be a recession. And it's like, when? And then, you know, you might just say like a random date. You might be like, well, late summer of 2027. It's like, why? And then you need to write down like why you think that's going to happen. And it might be that you saw some indicators with some certain stocks that normally perform well during a recession for that specific time. Like, not saying that's going to happen. None of this is a prediction. But like, you might just pick something at random and then be like, ah, that'll be fun to look at later. And sometimes it'll look really dumb 3 months later. You might be like, no, it was going to happen way sooner than that. Why did you think it was 2027? So yeah, volumes. It might be that you have a different volume. Like, it might be you have a different book and you label them like volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. And you have a different volume for every single month. Now, one thing I used to do is I had one main binder, and then I would take stuff out and I would put it in different binders. And that's the end of the story, right? Well, no, not really. I would also have one for every single month. So instead of putting the scraps into my main binder directly, because at the beginning I didn't have anything, so I would just toss stuff in here. Because it's like, I don't have anything to work with, so I just put everything in there. But eventually it became really highly concentrated, and so I needed like a less concentrated place for the new stuff to go. So any leftover scraps I had, and those would go in the monthly binders. So for example, it's February right now for me when this video comes out. It's probably like June-ish. And so the way that the monthly binders worked is, let's say we had one for June. I would look at the stuff in June, and then I would toss the binder. I wouldn't like throw it away, but I would push it to the side, and then I'd work on the July binder, you know, assuming July comes after June. Which I'm pretty sure it does, but for some reason I'm really bad at the summer months. I think it's because that was the only time we weren't in school, and I was like super focused on everything happening during the school year. And it was very easy to remember everything, because it's like I write my name at the top of the page, I write the date, I, you know, show up to school. But yeah, the summer is a little bit more difficult. And so it might be you get used to doing work during the school year, and then during the summer you just kind of relax. And then when you get older, it's a little bit harder to get work done during the summer, because it's like, well, you know, as a kid, I like never had to do stuff during the summer. That was my time to relax. So it might be if you have a different binder for every single month during the year, certain months will go by really quickly. Like it might be like your September binder goes a lot faster than the August binder, because it might be in September you had school? Is it August and September or September and August? I really don't know. This is like kindergarten level knowledge, and I just don't review it. And so like, that's why you got to review the stuff every 3 months. Write down the basics and then review them. But hopefully you understand what I'm talking about here. Mostly what I'm thinking about right now is how the August binder for me ended up basically being a French binder, because all my old notes for French got concentrated in the August binder. Actually, I think it was the October binder. So I can't remember anything. We're moving on. I think volumes was actually the end of it. So if you want to look into a hobby of organization, which is apparently so bad that I can't figure out how to remember the days of the month or the months of the year, then, you know, check out the next video. Please leave your comments down below. I mentioned a few different things to leave comments about. If I have mentioned leaving a comment about way too many things, leave that one down below. And thanks for watching. See ya.